Welcome to another edition of Thought Leaders Live, where we talk with thought leaders in business, life, and all points in between. Very interesting topic today. Danielle Patterson is the CEO of Family Office Access and Executive Director at Family Office at ISS Market Intelligence. We're going to be talking about inside family offices, how capital really moves, and why relationships really matter. And maybe folks out there aren't aware of how family offices work, how it all plays, that the whole family office ecosystem plays a part in the big financial picture. And I'm excited Danielle's with us today to talk a little bit more about it. And so, Danielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Greg. It's great to be here. Thank you for
Yeah,
hosting me today.
of course. So, why don't we start out? Because I think your personal history, we were talking a little bit before the show, is your experience is a little bit along the lines of with as an entrepreneur and selling your business really ties into family offices and the whole financial system. So give us a little bit about your own personal background and what brought you to this point in your career.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. It's very nonlinear. And, my passion, I'm an artist at heart. And I went to school, I studied fine art, born and raised California, went to UC Santa Cruz, graduated, had, my dream job. I managed the gallery of Franz Lanting. He's an incredible wildlife photographer, has a kind of an angle of conservancy, and he and his wife, travel the globe. She's a videographer, really incredible. Meanwhile, my husband was building a wonderful landscape design company, and that was right around the time 2008 hit. So it changed the trajectory of our careers. We moved out to the East Coast thinking it would be a short hiatus. We'd come back, and sometimes these changes, they happen for reasons. And I look back, and that move kind of initiated reinventing ourselves from a career perspective. My husband took every lesson from that first business and how tied it was to the market and rebuilt something that wasn't as volatile. He started a cloud hosting company, went down his own journey, had, I think, 9 different acquisitions on his side, and recently sold to private equity, which is an interesting part of the larger narrative when we talk about family offices. But meanwhile, I reinvented myself as well. I really dug into some of the things that I love, connecting with people, marketing from the creative side, sales and business development. And it was in one of his acquisitions that he found a company called Family Office List. And I decided, being pregnant with child number 3, that I was going to make an entrepreneurial leap. I kind of laugh in retrospect because all the entrepreneurs who are tuning in and listening to this show, you say you're going to become an entrepreneur so you can have this balance, you can make your own schedule. Well, you end up working at all times, but it belonged to me, and I put 110% into anything I do. And it really just became a new love affair, a new journey. I kind of joke that building this platform, this technology, became my new art medium. It's like a canvas.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um, Pretty incredible. I would you recommend that a mother of 3 with a baby on the way step into running a business?
Well, what's interesting? The thesis behind Family Office List, it was low employee count, high revenue, but and passive. Now, I am not a passive person. I can't help myself. If I'm going to have my name attached to something, there has to be integrity. And so it started with, the data. Well, let's make sure that there's a lot of integrity. The types of family offices were not categorized. I even questioned if some were family offices at all. And my very first hire, she made the transition into ISS with me. Elisa Morris, amazing, helped me architect everything. We set to work with really looking at the foundation of what we still offer today is the data and the integrity. And I thought, we are updating this, we are enhancing. And the more my marketing brain thought about how the use case and what are people using the data for and what are the success stories, the more I got into it, and but it evolved slowly over time. Everything was self-funded. Um, and I think for people who are sitting in that stage deciding to make the entrepreneurial leap, don't be afraid to ask for help. As a mom for myself, that meant I had to find someone that could help with the kids, but I
Mhm.
always, made it my priority to set my schedule up in a way where they are my why. They come first, and
Yeah.
everything else, supports that why. But also seeking mentorship. I think in the early years there was definitely a bit of that imposter syndrome, having not come from this industry. But the best, fastest way I got over that was learning to ask questions, to seek community, to find mentors. And I literally learn from every single client that we speak with. If something doesn't work, take ownership and find ways to make it better. And so getting on these Zoom format calls before the pandemic hit was huge, just talking
Sure.
to people.
Sure.
So that's just a little bit of early advice for anyone who's making the leap themselves. Set those things up as quickly as you can.
Those are wise words. So let's go back. You mentioned before talking about how people work with family offices and family office access. So can you explain to me a little bit about what that would look like? Why did someone come to you?
Yeah. So the world of family offices, very opaque. No two are quite alike. There can be a lot of secrecy around wealth for various reasons, privacy, protection. Um, But our goal is to help unlock capital and to help connect with those who have really meaningful opportunities. And family offices sit in a really unique position in the sense that they have patient long-term capital. They don't have to follow cycles the way venture capital, what's hot, we're only looking at this limited segment, or private equity where you have to have this much revenue and we need to be able to turn you around and sell you in 5 years. The family office model, they're thinking generationally. How is this particular venture going to improve the lives of my children, not just financially, but beyond that? And typically they've earned their wealth, through their own ventures. And so not only do they have incredible insights into certain industries and experience, but networks and resources beyond just the mere capital. So many people have heard the term family office, but they have a limited scope of network and they want to learn and they want to enrich or expand their network. So our database is something that they subscribe to, and it's evolved from names on a list into something that has much deeper insights, really focusing on, sure, simple things. How is the family office structured? Are they a single family office, a multi-family office? Yes, how many assets do they have under management? But how many people are on the team? When was the family office formed? Where are they in their wealth transfer? Those are all such complex elements. So it helps people contextually really think about how the family office operates, but more importantly, how they think long term about legacy. And so we highlight, their investment mandates. And in many examples, we have past investments. So you can really make sure that you're aligned.
Mhm.
No one wants to waste time going down the wrong rabbit hole, but to
Right.
really succeed, it's about building a relationship, and that starts with understanding this family, what they care about, how they think about, their long-term legacy, and often in this instance, most of our clients tied to investments.
Yeah. I remember reading something by Peter Drucker where he said the clan is the business model of the future. He was referring to families when he says the clan. I think he was actually referring to clans like in China, in that family model. So as we were talking before the show, I find this really refreshing and encouraging that we've got capital out there strategically thinking long term and really focus on that and preserving not only wealth but the people and the lives and the lifestyles, but really the lives of the people who are part of that family. And I think that that gives it that added human dimension where we think of private equity as this kind of money grubbing beast, the
Machine.
machine that just chews up people. I mean, how many stories do you hear about the founder who sold uh, their company and the private equity came in and just trashed the culture and blew everything up. So I find this really encouraging. Do you think a lot of startups, because that's usually in the startup world, that's the go-to, it's like venture capital, let's go get a VC. Do you think that this would be more of a welcome change? Because it seems like a lot, especially in tech, a lot of VCs, they're just looking for the unicorns out there.
Yeah.
And so is this a different avenue for them? And is there a lack of awareness about it?
Definitely. I think that family office capital can be so well suited, especially depending on the values, the mission behind the founder. The hard part is that runway. When does that founder need money? Did they need money yesterday? And
Mhm.
so really trying to advocate for the value working with family offices, but helping people learn and build networks before they need that capital, and to really, leverage the tool to research and to align who is that ideal partner, and not just this is the great partner, this is what I who I want to get capital from, but truly like what I'm building fits so well inside their thesis. Together we'll become stronger because it's a partnership, it's long term. And I think I'm seeing families looking for deal flow, and so it's really about bridging that gap. So, ways to show up and think about it. It's, lead with your passion. You're a human. What mission are you solving for? And building a network around you, because your network is your net worth. Those warm introductions are the fastest and easiest way to get to a family office. So there's a lot of, of course, in-person opportunities, but nowadays I'm seeing a lot of great virtual opportunities to learn, to add value. So I'm encouraged that more and more people are learning about the world of family offices. Even the term can be very complex and it means different things, even to the families. And so with our data, our goal is to curate a collection of those family offices we see actively allocating, because there's upwards of 15,000 globally. That number's doubled in the past 10 years, by the way, which really speaks to the growth, which is exciting and encouraging. But not all of them are, looking to make outside investments. So our goal is really to help people work smarter, not harder, to really hone in on the right relationships, and then to give more context to help with that strategic approach where it's flipping the traditional capital raising playbook.
Well, explain to me how that works, and then how we talk a little bit in the show description how to actually build trust in that process.
Yeah. It's hard, if you're raising capital, sometimes it can feel desperate. It can feel like a numbers game. You're like, "Here's my pitch deck, please." And maybe that's the way it works in the venture or private equity model. But in this model, it's really, you know, trust. Who are you? Why should I listen? And again, we see families looking for deal flow, but it's the show me you know me. We have two methodologies we really encourage. Show me you know me, which I'm investing in the relationship. I care about your values, your long-term goal, and here's how, you know, I fit in, and I have already invested in the relationship through doing my homework,
Okay.
not wasting your time and showing relevance, very hyper personalized. So that's one avenue. But then the methodology of give, ask. It takes time, it takes patience. It means that you know how to add value before you just go straight to uh, transaction. And that's where a lot of people fall short. It's not the traditional capital raising method of, but it's psychological, it's relationship building. So one of the experts we feature, we do monthly educational programming, and we often love to elevate voices from within our own community when they're experts. But Ava Dobronska, one of my favorite to date, she crafts cold outreach that actually gets opened, and she has 38 different playbooks, and they're completely based on psychology. And it always starts with like, this isn't about you, this is about them. And it's so thoughtful, every word choice. And it goes back to really having done the research, and the onus is on you to show that alignment, to show that value. And that thought, it's amazing. So many people miss that. They just think, gonna send a cold email and it's copy paste. And
Right.
you know, it's it is interesting to talk to the family offices that have examples of cold outreach that's worked, and to hear like, so what was it? What got your attention? How did
Oh,
that relationship? Some of them are like, yeah, no, it doesn't work, but we've interviewed a few that have formed relationships, and it's always interesting, like, what was that email that,
yeah.
and how and why did it get your attention? And I think in my own instance, one of my researchers reached out through LinkedIn, and I thought, I mean, I can't even look at my LinkedIn inbox, it's so big, but somehow, there are those certain people that where they lead with value, and they think really hyper personally, that can get through that mess. But ultimately, it's if you can create an ecosystem, if you can create a network that helps with the introductions, with helps with the visibility, helps with the trust, I think it saves a lot of time.
I'm curious how they would create lead with value when someone's looking for an investor.
Yeah. Honestly, again, knowing the end game, the goal, I find introductions for me is the easiest way, but I've worked years to build a network. But I don't just make an introduction, I seek permission. I want to make sure it's something that would be of value, because everyone's time is one of the most valuable assets these days. And so leading with value, thought leadership, education, assistance on diligence for a deal where you have domain expertise. Um, for me too, providing a platform for people to use their voice and share their stories. I mean, Greg, if there are families out there who want visibility, who are doing exciting initiatives, being on your podcast, that's a great talent of yours and your audience. And so, really trying to find the unique angle. And again, it's different for everyone. So it just takes being thoughtful and going back to, what do I have that can help you genuinely? And I think that that nature in and of itself builds trust. And
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about the family office ecosystem. We touched on that a little bit. Um, yeah, shed some light on this somewhat opaque world.
yeah, family offices, they have been around for hundreds of years. I mean, they date back to royalty. And then we look at the US and we have founding
What
family members. Mhm.
take us? Start with just from square one. What is a family office?
Yeah. Well, you could be inside a room with, 100 family offices, and they probably each have a different
Okay.
name, definition. It's a bespoke solution for, in many cases, a single individual, wealthy family. We're talking the Waltons. You have so much wealth that you can customize the solutions. They typically handle all of the household affairs of an ultra high net worth, but also they manage the investments, they set up the estate, the trust, they work with the transition of wealth to the next generation. And, depending on that family's goals and values, some want to give their wealth away in the year, some want to preserve it for the next generation. I think we see a really strong focus on helping prepare and educate the next generation, because one of the most complex, when we look at the model, is that most family offices fail. I think there's statistics that by the third generation, 90% of all family offices have not been able to successfully survive. So in many cases, these families and the complexity and running the family office itself is like a business. And if you don't have the right support and people and governance and communication, it's just like a startup, it can fail.
Yeah.
And so many, if they don't want that cumbersome job of creating an individual single family office, maybe they don't have enough assets to attract the right talent to run it, then you can join a multifamily office. So you're not reinventing the wheel. You're joining an established firm. I love Eric Becker, and tremendous entrepreneur, and he set up initially, his um, family office with a close partner, Ari, and they've now grown it into Crescent, one of the most remarkable, successful multifamily offices. And they, basically have taken their proven model and extended those services to other families. And then you have more kind of philanthropically focused. You can certainly have your family office and still set up foundations, but we within our database specifically do track the family foundations because, again, knowing their values, where they're putting their philanthropic dollars, helps unlock understanding and connectivity. And what I love seeing is collaboration. Families are members because they look to collaborate with one another and make a bigger impact through, working together. And then there's a lot of gray area. And as the term family office becomes more widely recognizable, we do see lots of service providers attaching the name. And we see a lot of people who, will claim to raise capital and they are family offices. So for us, when we curate our data, there is a large manual component still involved to validate, verify. We rely on our ecosystem, our partners to ensure, because it is a problem, and we work with members. They can do dedicated research requests if they hear of a family office, but they want us to do that validation. You also see a lot of larger institutions now. UBS, Goldman Sachs, they're setting up family office services to support
Oh,
those ultra high net worth. So, also, registered investment advisors now providing larger, more scalable family office services as well. So, this next chapter, working within a larger structure, ISS Market Intelligence, who acquired our company, their focus, they have a lot of institutional clients. They also have a lot of institutional kind of more asset management data. And so really working together with them to get granular on how these different categorizations, just so people can be more thoughtful and more targeted.
talk to me a little bit about the entrepreneur who would be a good fit for this, for a family office. I heard an interview, we talked about the unicorns, about private equity looking for the next Meta or Google, and it's so unrealistic from all these businesses. And there's like so many businesses just run out of runway and they falter, but they have good services. They have
Yeah.
things that they just don't have, not hitting the profit goals and things like that. Tell me what kind of and I know it's going to range all across the board, but
Yeah.
what are the mindsets you see from people who are working with family offices, from an entrepreneurial perspective?
Yeah. I think, from a founder, you want someone with conviction, with passion, with purpose, leadership. But really it's what they're building that matters so deeply to them, that also matters to the family. Like, I think of some of the members, I love doing strategy sessions where we dive into what it is they're doing and the why behind it, because that's where you get that alignment. And there are some incredible members we work with. They're looking for solutions to cancer. They're
Mm.
looking to make the world a better place. And we think about, like, yesterday I spoke with a woman who helps with Alzheimer's, and you think these are things that almost every person has been touched and affected by. And that's where you find that family who's equally passionate about solving the problem. They may not have that solution themselves, but that's where together. And so it's really connecting the I am your operator. I have the solution. We just need that capital. And often, like I said, more than the capital. And then together it creates those solutions that are in line with the values the family holds. And it can be different. If we have families that have made their wealth in all sorts of different industries, and maybe they're looking to diversify, and they didn't they don't know the real estate markets the way many of our founders do. And so really helping be that expert, having operational boots on the ground, a track record that is proven, but also just the way in which they present themselves and communicate and work with that family. Um, there's a lot of families out there who will get involved. They're still very operational and involved within the companies. So it really varies. And so having that context on how they structure deals and what their involvement preference, also their appetite for risk. Are they open to early stage investments, and what are their typical investment sizes? Because again, that alignment, you don't want to waste their time. You certainly as a founder are running at 110 miles per hour, so really being able to leverage data but then understand the value of that relationship.
And maybe does this kind of come to a full circle moment here? Is this what you're talking about when you can bring value to this relationship, in that you are coming in, you're not wasting anybody's time. You know exactly what that family office is looking for, what they're all about, and you can really tailor what you're looking for as well. You've already done the homework. You're a good fit for them. You can really help them out. Is that what you're talking about? And is that how people use your service?
Yeah, definitely. The data is the foundation, and then the ecosystem to support and build their own network, to show up curious, learn, help others. It's almost you create the solution you wish to see. And for me, I pay it forward to the mentors that help me grow in this space and want to be that for others who are new, who looking to navigate. Yes, leverage this data, save yourself time, but empower yourself through this great resource to give yourself a huge upper hand, just getting yourself established. Save
Okay.
yourself the 10 years it took to for me to build the context in the community.
So, Danielle, give me a specific um, kind of a use case scenario how somebody would work with you. What deliverables can they expect? What's the engagement like?
Yeah. So our goal in creating this solution has always been flexibility and affordability. I see ways to make more money off of this, but it's not my end goal. It's to help bring what I've created to those who have the right deserving opportunities. So there are competitors out there and you're like, how many thousands for data? And that's serves its purpose for institutions. But my unique client base are really those use cases where they're looking to raise, they have very specific goals. Maybe they're fund managers and they don't have a structure in which they can solicit the entire globe. So we set it up as a subscription and we have different geographic focuses. Again, less is more. Where are you going to receive value based on alignment? And then once they're subscribers, they can access the data just on a monthly basis to learn, to research. They can't extract the data, but they have access to the resources, the learning, the best practices, and importantly, all the filters and tools to leverage that data within the platform. A monthly subscriber, I can't help. I'm like, I want to get to know you. What's your use case? How do we think strategically? How do we think about positioning your voice, your messaging? And that's where we can do strategy sessions. And if we can, you know, provide more introduction or connectivity, or even just set you on the right path. Let's look at our ecosystem of partners who are throwing events. You work in mental health, you need to be in London at the Mental Health
Yeah.
Summit next month, and that's just years of building relationships and partners and helping plug people into that so that again they can grow and start to use the resources beyond the sheer data to invest in themselves, invest in their relationships and their knowledge of the industry.
Wow. Yeah. So it's not just a database. It's helping them use the data, take action with it, and really put it to use. And How big is the team? And how many clients do you have, or how big is the network that you've got within Family Office Access?
Great question. So a couple components. My n- team of four, plus our development team, and accountants, and we have contractors, have stepped into a much larger organization after the acquisition. We're now a part of ISS Market Intelligence, and they're a team of about 600 that sit under a much larger umbrella of about 3,400 global employees. And I couldn't be more excited. There's an events team, there's data science, there's research, reports. So we are having the most exciting discussions about how we can bring these systems and this approach to what we've built in this little niche industry of family offices. And our research team is hiring. We're integrating the development team we've been working with larger. And so it's exciting. And to date, we serve probably around 250 active members. The family offices within our database, it's mind blowing, grows by around 60 new firms every month, and it's just
Wow.
speaks to the growth. We currently have around 5,600 globally. So it's, again, our goal isn't, hey, we have every family, because our goal is really to help with that more thoughtful connection. So we're curating based on those we see who are active and allocating, and teach that thoughtful approach.
I love it. So, Danielle, if someone wants to learn more about Family Office Access, we're at the top of the hour here. So, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is being streamed to LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is one of
Yeah.
my favorite platforms where I show up. We do our programming, we always announce what's coming up. My inbox does get a little full, so you can always reach out, the familyofficeaccess.com website. Yeah, and I would love to speak with anyone.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today, Danielle. It's been a pleasure and really insightful, illuminating conversation.
Aw, thank you for the opportunity.
Great. And then thanks to everyone for tuning in to another edition of Thought Leaders Live. We'll catch you in the next one.